Welcome back to Asterisk War Anime Review, episode number 3. This will cover episodes 8 through 12. Now here's the thing about these episodes. 8 is an anime original episode. Yep. Though there is some scenes from that actually from the third novel. So yeah. This one is called, the third episode is called Holiday Pair Part 2. This time it's focused on like the first time was basically Ayato and Jules. This time it's Sai and Karen. So they basically just spend a day shopping. Yep. Yeah, Ayato was seen briefly at the start of this episode, but then of course he's seen at the very end, like the book ended. Yep. So they go out shopping, and of course Saya basically invites Karen because she basically has a poor sense of direction, so she doesn't know where she wants it. So they ends up wanting to go to this particular gun shop in the middle of the other side of the business district, and she will find a particular gun she wants, buys it, and then of course, well, she's like, okay, Karen, well, I did what I wanted to do. Let's do what you want to do. And what does she want to do? Learn how to swim, because she never learned how to swim. So Sayo basically teach her how to swim. So this lasts for a little while, and then she goes out to get some refreshments. And then, of course, have Karen practice for a little while. And then she runs into Violet from the school for girls school, the one that the one who's student president is an idol. Yes. And they briefly have a fight. Yep, they briefly have a fight. But so lucky enough that Saya basically fights her, and she wins. Yep, sends her flying. And then, of course, well, they say they go back, and everything is all hunky-dory. And, of course, well, she's her partner for the upcoming festival coming up. And so episode 9 up until episode 12, it's all about this festival. Now, they also introduce this thing about the AI. They introduced this basically, they mentioned this back in episode 5, so we finally get a chance to see it. Basically, the use of having robots. Yep, robots. In this competition, just cause. One of whom looks like a woman. Yep. So they have their battle, and wins about pretty easily. The first battle we see is Io and Jules versus. Excuse me. You could probably call these people a couple nobodies, or at least like in wrestling terms, a couple jobbers. Where Io easily defeats these guys in less than a minute with his power, and then of course, well. Then we have Saya and Karen's match, which of course, because of the fact that, well, Ayato and Jules basically running late for it, they have a missing match anyways. So, Saya and Karen basically win their match, and then they shower afterwards. And then, of course, Ayato basically comes upon is basically being late. Though, my guess is Saya must have a big punishment. Her punishment, basically, for missing her match, is to see her naked. Yep. So, despite the fact she's basically not wearing a towel, it's not properly dried off, she's still a little wet, and she basically has Io come in, despite the fact both she and her partner are both naked. They just came out of the freaking shower. And he's like, what? It's so hilarious, to say the least. And that happens episode 9. In episode 10, well, that kind of is introduction to basically a couple new characters in the series who they don't become love interest for the main for Ayato. It's basically Irene and Penna, I think her name is, two sisters who were basically brought to this country, the country the show is set in, by Derek, the guy who was the student council president of another school. And, oh yeah, this is the guy who's a complete jerk. Oh, good gosh, yes. Yep. And basically he frees Irene from her imprisonment. Why she's here? Probably because she's a delinquent, so a prisoner. Her school attire is her basically wearing her top, where she shows off her shoulders and her bra. It's still on. But it's okay, have basically where she shows off her shoulders just because she's a rebel. So, she's okay, let's just have it where, okay, have her participate in that kind of festival, and she gets to have her sister as a partner, and she gets used her basically her scythe, which she also was sort of a vampire. Yeah, they heard her was a vampire in episode 10. And her task is simply to eliminate Ayato's sword, mainly because it would be a big problem for Derek. Yes, it'd be a big problem with him. So, well, at one point, Sasaya gets lost in the city, and Karen contacts Ayato. Ayato comes out, finds him, and just by sheer coincidence, he runs into Irene's sister, saves her from a bunch of hooligans, and her sister gets the wrong idea, but she's able to calm her down because, well, they deeply care about each other. So, as a thank you, they invite him to dinner at their place. Yep, dinner. And of course, well, Ayato invites Jules because they're partners. And they also find out, though, that because of the fact they went to the finals, their first match is against these two sisters. And it's the very next day. Yep, they have dinner. It's quite nice. We see that the fact that Irene doesn't have very good table manners. Also, the younger sister is basically the cook of the family. It's very good cooking. So, they have their match actually in the final episode of this season. Yep. So, they have pretty much sort of a two-part battle in a way. Where, prior to the match, basically everybody's like, well, let's just say... Now, Lester has his fight, but he loses. Yeah, they show up basically their battle, where they show up the fact that Irene drinks the blood of her sister in order to power her scythe. Basically, he gives power to the scythe, which is able to beat Lester and his partner. So, when Ayato has his match with... Well, before Ayato he had another match prior to this, where he fought him and Julius fought two girls, which they beat them really easily. So, also prior to this, I've been introduced to the guy named Mista, which there's a history of this guy with him and Ayato. I won't reveal that here, probably in a later video. So, he sort of briefly stares at Ayato for some reason, and he goes back to his speech, and it turns out he's basically an alumni for the school that Ayato goes to. Yep, just by sheer coincidence, and he's on the steering committee. Why is he on the steering committee? Because that's where he wanted to go. And he's like in name only, basically top brass. That's the closest accord to Claudia. So, they have their, after basically, well, the Ayato and Jules have the match with the sisters, which prior to the match, Irene drinks the blood of her sister, and then she does it again during the match. And it's a really good battle, and I love the music that they actually have in these two episodes. Yeah, it is that damn good of music. It is so good. I like good rock music here. Eventually the battle ends basically with Ayato destroying the scythe. Well, basically breaking to pieces. Though he himself used his power for more than 5 minutes, which knocks him out. And then, of course, the more hilarious bit happens. I'll get to that. And then we see the younger sister wake up in the hospital, where she's gonna be fine. She's gonna basically she don't want to protect more. She wants to basically fight alongside her sister, which she's fine with that. And then we have the most funniest moment, like the most interesting moment of the whole episode. Ayato basically, thanks to being exposed to that particular power, he can barely move very well. So then we have where they kind of confirm that maybe Jules has got feelings for him, where they almost kiss, and then Claudia, Saya, and Kyrene come in. Where despite the fact he needs to be nursed back to health, like, okay, first, like, Kyrene's like, I'll nurse back over. All three of these girls take turns shoving Ayato's face in their chest. First, it's Saya, then Kyrene, then it's Claudia. It's like, oh, I'll nurse back now because I have no badges. And I'm like, why doesn't Jules get on this? And of course, well, Ayato's roommate is standing outside the door, which that's quite hilarious. But I think it's so hilarious though that 4 women, all who have a thing for him, all basically want him to go to basically take turns basically nurse back to health. Despite the fact that Saya and Karen have got their own match coming up. All in all, great set of episodes. And also, one other thing, they actually have basically Saya's father call up Saya before her match. And of course, since Ayato knows her father, was like, "Oh, hi, Uncle." And he's like, "Is that Ayato here? It's great to hear your voice. We have to catch up." I wouldn't be surprised though. It's not surprising though. He's probably by far the only parent, like actual parent of all these girls he's actually met. Yep, the only one. Yep. All in all, great set episodes, and I can't wait for season 2. But I have to read the light novels first. Yep, I read the light novels first before I watch the next season. So I'm going to get into. Now, let me couple anime basically replace this one. The first one is going to be Val X Love. Yes, but before I get to that one, I'm going to be working the fated battle between brothers. Yes, a 10-episode arc that I'm already down to about 9 episodes. So basically, I should probably be able to get this done. Say no problem. And I maybe start Val X up today. It's possible at least. Yep. Yeah. Also, at the end of basically episode 12, we see the debut of Sylvia, the class president for the student council president for the all-girls school, which she's going to play a big role in a future book. I won't say what role it is, but it's quite interesting, to say the least. Yeah. Though it's not that surprising, though I like anime like this because I just purely enjoy it, because seeing all these women basically, like one guy get all these smoking hot babes. Yeah. Though I think it's they also this really funny moment where when Sasha gets out of the shower and she really wanted to massage Karin's breast because even though she's a middle schooler, she's got a bigger rack than she does, and she's jealous of her for that, but she has no problem with her aside from that. Like, maybe massaging her breast make my breast go bigger. I'm like, what? Okay, I thought that was funny. Yep. And it's something though that all the girls, it takes Saya to be the first one he actually sees in her birthday suit. And no, they've never slept together. Nope. And of course, Karin got a chance to see her naked too, somewhat, anyways. Now we probably think, wait, what about Claudia? Claudia was wearing a robe, even though she was naked underneath that. But he never gets a chance to see anything when it comes to her. Yep. But she does have feelings for him. Yes, she does. She loves teasing him. Yep. Though in the case of Claudia, that's something that they're about to have like a moment, but that he was called away to deal with because they were like all alone in that room, that waiting room just above where I told like all the student council presidents supposed to sit, but not all of them sit there. Basically, it's kind of like her waiting room, basically her own viewing place, which is quite nice. Like, oh, I want to have some alone time with you. Like, she basically really wants to make out with him, but basically the phone call interrupted. And one thing I got to point out, apparently phone calls are done via these screens that pop up out of nowhere. Which I'm like, really? Oh yeah, and these phone calls come with basically either video chat or even like audio only. Yeah. And Dirk himself plays a minor role in this. He doesn't really do a lot of anything. At one point, he's attacked by Irene, but he's able to call her off, and it's like, okay, time to get back to basically business. Also, his assistant basically is a scaredy cat. Yeah. Also, it's revealed later on that Maisto knows Ayato's missing sister. Yep, he knows her. Somehow he knows her. I won't reveal how he knows her, just not yet. That probably is going to be spoiled later. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. My next review will be Naruto Shippuden. Yep, where I'm discussing the fated battle of brothers. Yep, and I might get time to do my first review for Val X Love. Okay, see you next video. Bye.